What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Forge Sports Media. This is our episode 18.
Let's make it happen, man. We had, I guess, a little over a week ago, Jonesboro finished on up. We took a week off, as we had a week off of the Pro Tour. It was a much needed
Mm,
week off.
Very much needed a week off, but we are glad to be back. We've got, like Thomas said, we'll have a Jonesboro update. We'll do a little points update. We're going to preview the OTB Open. We're here for the West Coast Swing, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And we've got a few different news updates. Trey will run through some new discs. You've got your own, updated segment. We'll talk about that when it's time. And then I've got a top five to round us off today. Is that everything?
that's it. That's all we got.
Let's make it happen. So Jonesboro, Trey, where do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, just real quick. We talked about it a little bit on the last podcast, but Jonesboro is a beautiful course.
Oh my gosh,
And just to go from Champions Cup to Jonesboro for coverage specifically,
it's night and day.
it's night and day. It was perfect. And the course is beautiful. It's well maintained, it's well designed. Yes, it played much easier than we might have expected rounds one and two, but there was the unusual factor of lack of wind.
Yes,
Jonesboro is notorious for being a windy course, for
right.
having a lot of wind, and it is to some extent designed with that in mind. Now that being said, people shredded because there were no wind. There was no wind, and we'll get more into that later. But the course as a whole is top three to watch, in my opinion. On coverage, I would love to be there live. I feel like it would be a really fun event to actually watch because you can see all the holes. It looked like coverage, and it looked like fans were able to see all the course. So I thought it went fantastic.
I would agree completely. Given just the nature of Champions Cup, the lack of ability specifically on like the telecommunication end, like being able to actually show live coverage, it's just a completely different experience to be able to see like pretty much every single shot, see it in good quality, get a wide range of shots. You could see the Disc Golf Pro Tour like doing more testing with the drone shots off the tee so that you could see the flight right and left from an aerial angle, which was fun here and there. I think they'll learn things from doing it because I think
Oh,
there were
for
a few
sure.
times where I was a little bit peeved that I didn't get the angle from right behind to see exactly what was going off. But they have to test it out.
Yeah, they're working out kinks. One thing that they did differently this on Jonesboro that I really enjoyed were the hole one interviews.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really interesting. It's like a good way to change things up to get a little bit of perspective on what's going on in the course. Talk to some different folks that are playing. They talked to Conrad. They talked to, I think, Gossage, a handful of other guys, and so it was good to see that. Um,
Yeah, what's your take on the lack of wind as it relates to the course design that Jonesboro is? Like, how do you feel like Champions Cup people were screaming, "Oh my gosh, this course is way too easy. They need to take it." I mean, part of why people think they need to take it off of the tours because it can't be covered very well, which is a fair argument to make. Uh,
I think
whether or not we agree, completely different conversation for a completely different debate, but do we think that the course is too easy, or do you think course design should be based on the expected wind in the region that Jonesboro, Arkansas, in this course specifically stands?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think there's a balance, right? If there is wind to be expected, you don't want to make the course significantly harder, but it does seem like if, the the scores that were happening, and we'll get more into that later, with the scores that were happening, I mean, someone shot 17 under par with an eagle and a par and two pars. Um, I think that some nuanced changes could happen that would make the course a little more difficult, would I think maybe even providing a little more OB. It kind of felt like throughout the rounds you could get a little bit off base,
Yeah,
a little bit off the fairway, and not be punished because the fairways were so wide and OB was a little few and far between. And so I think that would be my change to Jonesboro, is maybe not change any of the holes themselves, but like provide a little bit more OB.
Yeah, no, I think that's a completely fair point. There is that fine line between designing a course based on bad condition. And I think it's fair to call wind a bad condition,
I
even if
agree.
it's the average for the area. It's not great. I mean, I would consider great conditions, to me, because I got a little bit, a little bit more body fat on me. I stay a little warmer, a little like 65 degrees,
Oh, that's
very light
perfect.
wind. You can wear a jacket if you want to.
Or you can wear shorts and t-shirt if you want to.
Exactly.
That's
So
perfect weather.
I was gonna say, if I could get over to it, what is the my brain is forgetting the whole its whole 16 is the par five that it just felt like where Eagle was maybe should have been punished a little more for being so close up to the trees on his second shot and just had the very easy again
I
it
think
looks easy to him. I'm not saying I could go up and throw this shot perfectly, but he threw what was considered by the commentators in the moment a not so great shot that should have had him pinched off, and it was a pretty stock.
simple, a simple out that
Yeah, the birdie.
got him
Now,
perfect.
again,
The hole should be a par four.
correct. I would agree with that. And I can't remember who I was talking to. At some point down the line, this is probably going to be 10 years from now. Uh, but the Pro Tour is going to have course design, and this includes improving current courses, but also bringing on new courses. We're going to figure out what the like real max distance is for a professional disc golfer, like a real athlete that comes into this, not just your stock random dude that just knows how to throw a disc well enough. Like distance will be a requirement for you to actually be on the tour. It's like I'm not going to play on the PGA Tour if I can't hit 300 yards off the tee. I mean, at
Right.
least I'm not going to be competitive. And so at some point, these courses are going to be longer and the pars are going to be just a little bit more challenging. And this 855-foot par five is really a par four, like you're mentioning.
That's the other change that we could see made to the course is a couple of these holes, like I think particularly hole 16, the par is incorrect. I think
Yeah.
it most definitely should be a par
And
four.
it'll be similar to, some of the holes over at like Waco or like 18 at WR Jackson, where they just reduce it the upcoming year.
Yeah,
It's based on that performance, but I know it's been a par five historically. I know you've been following it way longer than me. I don't know if there's ever been a time where they brought it down, but I would also love more than anything that this would just make my day if there was an event that played a par 72. Not that again, I know I pull this a little more, and you don't stand on this entirely. 72 is the average par in golf, but I think it plays for more interesting coverage to see people throwing full shots more often. You know, in ball golf, it's two par threes, two par fives on each side. The rest are par fours. And it allows you to be throwing, or in ball golf, hitting longer shots more frequently. And so when you're watching professional golf, you're seeing people hit really long shots that aren't as easy. Whereas a par three is you're just throwing your drive and then you're putting and approaching right afterwards. And so you're doing that more frequently. I mean, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and uh, eight, nine par threes here, which is five more than a typical golf course would play. And so I think that'll be good for coverage down the line. But for us to really get to that distance and know what it's going to be like long term, we're also going to have to know how long the like true pro athletes can throw, so you can build it around
right.
that.
I think Eagle's our example though. I think
He is.
he's I think once we get a second Eagle out there, because Eagle can do things that no other player can do with a disc right now.
Right.
But that's not to say that others won't be able to do that soon.
So we'll get there.
Yeah. So let's just get straight into the finish. On the FPO side, a surprising finish for many. Kat Mersch taking it down in a playoff over Haley King with Aria Castruita finishing in third.
Yeah. Talk about okay, the playoff between Merch and King. Those are just two players that you've been wanting to see take it
Oh
down.
man, absolutely. Haley King's had a rough year last year. Did win the U.S. Women's Championship,
Mm-hmm.
which was a good win, but overall didn't get to play a ton on the tour and didn't play super well when she did play.
Right.
And then Kat Mersch has kind of just felt like she's been on the fringe
She has.
like since the middle of last season.
Did you watch the Jomez interview with her after round one, like the round two?
No, I did not. I
So
didn't see
really,
it.
really cool interview. Just Kat talking about just a relatively rough upbringing, just parents that are, at least her father, just not entirely there.
Hmm.
Though, yes, they're present. Technically, parents are split up, but it sounds like just not a good parental situation.
Hmm.
And disc golf is something that she picked up around like her early teens, and it was something that really was just a way for her to like have an outlet that took her away from what was probably a very hard early childhood life. And so this win, which, on here we talk about the emotional victory for Kat, means a lot because of that and what disc golf has like actually meant for her in terms of escaping what was a hard upbringing.
Yeah, and then getting to do that not only her first pro tour victory, but also in her home state. I do
Right.
believe her mom
She was.
was on site and got to. I
Yeah.
saw there was an emotional hug, and
Yeah. And she, from what I know, is much closer to her mom. Like,
that is my understanding as well.
yes.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, really, really cool. It was definitely like an unexpected when you watch it. I mean, her literally just like belting out screaming. Like, I
it,
mean, it is a full on like yell.
it's her personality in a
Yeah,
nutshell, but at the same time, you see her so goofy and
right.
so that's like her style. That's what she brings to the game.
Yeah,
And then she goes out and has this win. And there is almost a shift. It goes from, she's bubbly, fun, all these things, and then it's just like that. I think that just compiled into this moment where I mean, it was just a great sports moment
oh yeah.
where I mean, excitement, emotion, just everything. It's everything you want in a sports moment. So,
And honestly, there are. I read through comments. Though this was more prevalent, I felt, on Facebook than it was on like Instagram. The I guess sentiment that it was just like stupid. It was a ridiculous reaction, and that like this is like bad for the sport. I was like, who are you? Like, this person just won their first event, and again, if you watch the Jomez interview with her, terrible, horrible upbringing, like, or at least just not an ideal way to be raised, and then you proceed to find disc golf and then win your first pro tour event. That's just like, how would you act? I would probably act
my
the exact
emotions
same
would
way.
be through the roof. So, congratulations to Cat Merge.
Definitely.
Excellent win there. Good to see, again, we talked about this before, but good to see Haley King back on track in the playoff. She didn't take it down, but she was there,
Yeah.
played an excellent tournament. So it'll be exciting to see her playing very well. And then I'm gonna be honest, didn't know who Aria Castruita was prior to this
Neither
event.
did I.
Um, but she has definitely put herself on the radar,
She has.
finishing in third place, only 3 strokes off the pace.
Mm-hmm.
She, I mean, she's from Bastrop,
I mean,
Texas.
a decent career earnings.
She's 34th in the U.S. Tour
Her
ranking.
next big event will be the DDO
Okay,
in June, and then she'll play. She's signed up for Worlds.
good deal. So we'll see more of her, but she's definitely made a name for herself after this event.
Yeah.
A couple of disappointments. I think it's not a far stretch to say that probably 90% of people picked Kristen Tatar
To win.
To win,
We all did,
and
with a wide margin of victory after the last few. So I think it's easy to say that sixth place is like a disappointment, even though sixth place is a completely fine place to be finishing.
but
It's just hilarious because
for
it's a tough.
her.
Yeah.
And then Katrina Allen in 11th. You just think of Katrina Allen as a consistent top 5 to 10 finisher at every event. So seeing her outside of that was a little disappointing. But yeah, again, just great win for Kat Mersch. Congrats to her. On the MPO side, the GOAT of the 2023 season, Calvin
Bro, he
Heinberg.
just keeps absolutely crushing it. And this is his third time winning Jonesboro.
third time winning Jonesboro twice in a row after after beating Paul in the playoff last year. He takes it down over Ben Calloway, Isaac Robinson, and Eagle McMahon.
It's hilarious that technically the second place finishers are Ben and Isaac. Eagle just kind of like sort of went for it and then just like ate his lunch and messed up a little. Like he had a. It took a lot to get him into second place
And it
or into
happened.
tied for second place instead of solo second, didn't it? Yeah.
And it happened. And so yeah, Eagle kind of choked it away on the last couple of holes. It was a battle between Eagle and Calvin up until I guess really hole
I
18.
mean, talk about just an electric way to finish an event. Like, I mean, that we all got together, grilled out, had me, you, and four other guys, or me, you, and three other guys watching, and like the finish between Calvin and Eagle was just absolutely nuts, and that whole 16 in particular. Talk about the what I would view as maybe the putt of the year from Calvin.
Oh
I mean,
man.
40 feet downhill, looking
It may
towards a
have been
little bit of
further than 40.
it was anywhere 40 to 50, but
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
a
yeah.
tough putt downhill. There had been a much higher amount of wind that particular day, though in this moment it had died down a little bit. But to absolutely ice in your veins, go for the eagle putt downhill, eyes on you. This will take the lead.
OB right behind. If he misses,
Exactly.
it goes OB, and he pretty much gives the tournament to Eagle at that
Exactly.
point. That doesn't happen. He makes the putt, clutches it up. Eagle falters on 18, taking the double bogey,
Right, which I
triple
mean,
bogey, excuse me.
he went OB like almost immediately and never came back in. I mean, like he ended up going what looked like 100 feet behind his OB position, hoping to like have a line to potentially go over, and just didn't have anything, and then
Instead,
ate
he
his
went up,
lunch.
yeah, he ate his lunch, pitched up, and tried to make something of it, but winds up taking the 7 on the par 4.
Man, it's
So
just he has come so close.
he's got 2 second place finishes in a row now.
Do you think he's going to win this year?
It's hard to it's hard to pick against him in Europe,
Yeah, he's going to win the European Open. We know it.
but I don't know if he'll win any more than that, man. I just don't know.
I mean, there's three majors left this year. He shows out at majors. Second was it second place finish at Champions Cup or was it third?
I think he was tied for second, wasn't
Tied for second with Niklas.
yes, that is correct.
So he's got a lot going for him. Obviously, needs to put it together. The forehand was looking a little bit better. Obviously, still a little bit nervy. You don't want to try
For
to push
sure,
that
for
too
sure.
quick.
Um,
But he's not. I don't think I saw any left hand throws out of him.
no, he's going back to the forehand, which is good for him and good for disc golf because when man if that forehand comes back to be anything like it was, it's the best forehand in the game.
And if you're not already aware, our Champions Cup winner Isaac Robinson came out to play
He did.
again.
He kind of quietly. He did not have any kind of setbacks from being a major champion. He came back out and he was never really in the running towards the end, but he worked his way into second place. And
He's one of the okay. So everybody was saying after Champions Cup, and this goes along with the sentiment of everybody saying that Champions Cup is too easy. It's just a backhand hyzer flip kind of course. All you got to do is throw it down the middle, and then you're fine. Comes out, shows that he's not just a one trick pony. That he like actually can play really good disc golf on a very open, lengthier course.
absolutely, Isaac's a great golfer. Don't
He is
the haters need to get out of here about
so
that.
good at putting.
But
Unbelievable.
Calvin's the unanimous consensus number one player in the world.
Oh
right
yeah,
now. I mean, there's not an argument. You cannot make an argument for anybody else. He's the best.
Well, even the moment that they UDisc put Gannon ahead for the week leading into Champions Cup was just the most ridiculous thing I've ever
But
seen.
then the week after that, do you know who number one became?
Who?
It was Ricky.
Oh God, come on! I think it's ridiculous to
Those
include
rankings.
Ricky.
Those
I mean, like I
rankings.
get the idea of wanting to put him on there, but I think if you go 4 Elite Series events without playing or something like that, especially due to injury, you should just take them off.
Well, it's based on they've got some kind of algorithm they're running to get their numbers.
Much further amount of history playing into that. And yes, Ricky had an unbelievable season last year. Like Totally get
Um,
it.
but it's not.
Calvin's just
It's
playing
not this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Calvin's the best player in the world. Just there's no question. I did want to shout out the. I'm gonna. This sounds bad, but the demoted duo,
That's funny.
Ben Calloway and Andrew Presnell, both on the the elite team for Discraft in 2022, get demoted for some inclusions. Anthony Barella, Brody Smith, others. Um, they both got top 5 finishes.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Calloway grabbing that second place finish. It's been a tough year for him, but he has picked it up as of late, so he's a guy to watch out for the rest of the year. And Andrew Presnell grabbing that top 5 finish. They beat, I guess, technically Corey Ellis got the 5th place finish. But besides him, Ben the Ledgestone team, the Ledgestone duo outplayed the entire Discraft elite team, which is I think made the biggest thing that you see there is the depth of Discraft's roster.
They do just have an unbelievable amount of people that are just really dang good at disc golf.
For sure.
So James Conrad,
Yeah, I can't.
we have to talk about this. 17 down. What a ridiculous round. I mean, okay, so this goes again into the concept of Jonesboro is almost entirely designed based on the fact that there is wind. And for the first 2 rounds, there was pretty much no wind, at least in comparison to what you would anticipate at Jonesboro. 17 down. That's just a ridiculous score.
And regardless, wind, no wind, that was the best round of disc golf this year.
Oh, yeah.
Bar none.
Yeah.
I know Hamas technically had a higher rated round, but
I despise the fact that these memorial rounds get rated so high. It's ridiculous. There's memorial bias. I don't think, and the foundation guys talked about this, and it was one of those that, like, I already feel so passionately that Memorial gets rated way too high, and I can't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know if there's like this, like, if Memorial, then add 20 points or something like that.
Dude, we need to go play some rounds of Memorial.
Yeah, I need to get my rating up. When's the next M event out there? But
I have some 950 rated rounds out there.
Lord, so I would say that Conrad round is probably better than any Memorial round that's been played.
The highest rated round ever was at Memorial, and it was by Macbeth.
Was it 18 under?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was dang good. And that, I think, maybe not the best round ever by Conrad, but definitely the best round of the year.
No, I don't think this is the best round ever necessarily.
But I think that's a conversation for another episode because we could talk about that for a really long time.
We'll get more firm feelings on that before we go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then really just a couple of disappointments. Kevin Jones, he is just always like a stalwart at this event where he is always in contention.
And then did he tie for last cash or did he miss cash?
I think he tied for last cash. He finished tied for 44th. So either way, not the finish you were hoping for from the Arkansas native. So
yeah, he tied for last cash.
Yeah.
Hey, with my boy EO.
Hey, get the money where you get it, man.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely a disappointment. Everybody kind of always puts KJ on like a pedestal leading into this. I mean, you picked him as your
Pick him to
place, which is a solid, typical
pick.
Yeah, like Kevin just always plays good. Hate to see it. Forge picks, none of our Forge picks cashed. They all played terrible. Like in comparison to the rest of the field, in comparison to what we would have considered a Forge
a pick to have.
event.
Yeah, Aiden had some major struggles on hole 18 of round 3.
Yeah, I mean, well, that pretty much, yeah.
That kind of did him in.
Was that 5 over?
I think it was like 7 over. I think he took a 12.
That's a very tough one.
Yeah, I mean, it was not good.
Was that the only one that got MPO points?
Yeah, you were the only one that got points, period. So we'll go ahead and jump into that. So I picked Anthony Barella. You picked Kyle Klein. Matt picked Paul Macbeth to win.
Right.
Didn't happen. You did pick Calvin to place. So you snagged some points there.
There we go.
And then, like we mentioned before, Forge picks all wrong.
And then on the Women's side, we all picked Kristen Tatar to win. Did not happen. We also picked our margin of victory, which also didn't happen. I mean, hey, if Kristen Tatar, that's a positive number. Did Kristen Tatar
Lose.
miss first by 9 strokes? If that happens, if that's
Mm,
the case, I'll give you 1 point.
Look real quick. Just find out. Find out for me.
7.
Oh, that's close.
7. He accidentally wrote 9 instead of -9, and so if Trey had somehow, if Kristen had missed first by 9 strokes exactly, I would have given him an extra point just for funsies.
But
For the placement, you picked Macy Bella Diaz. She did not podium. Holland Hanley did not podium. For me, Paige
just
Pierce.
missed it. Yeah, she got 4th.
Yep, right there. 2 strokes off.
But Paige Pierce did not play, neither did Paige Shue. And
That's unfortunate for Matt.
yeah, Matt's picks did not pan out there. But and neither did any of our Forge picks.
Yeah,
So
yours came to close to Allie Smith at 19.
yeah,
So let's move into the OTB Open. We've talked about Jonesboro for long enough.
I think so.
West Coast swing. Some people might say West Coast best coast. I'm more of a East Coast beast coast kind of guy.
I like the way you think. But West Coast disc golf is pretty fun. It's exciting.
Do they still play the 2 meter rule in California?
So yeah, I was gonna talk about that.
Oh, I didn't. I didn't see that on the list right here.
Yeah. We'll get into that. They do on some holes.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of strange. But it's gonna be a 3-round tournament starting this Friday.
Wait, tell me about this right here.
That the distance.
Oh, that's the distance. Now, when you were saying that was the elevation above sea level at 11,000 feet, I was like, Trey, I think that's wrong.
No, that's the total distance of the course.
Okay.
So it's a long course. No Paul Macbeth. He's on his European tour.
Euro guy. Hey, can we talk about the fact that we have now decided on a new style of putt that is legal? It is the Euro step putt. It's not just a step putt, it's a Euro step putt. You walk up to it, and then right when you get to like where your lie is, you take your last step and putt it right there. And if you hit the Euro step from outside circle 2, you get 1 additional stroke off your score.
Who came up with that? You and Brady?
I don't remember who I was playing with, but we were screwing around
That's so
and decided to make the Euro step putt.
That's so stupid. But
Dickerson's not playing. I mean, which is
it's
classic.
pretty typical. He doesn't love West Coast golf.
He got that bag now. He doesn't have to play.
Yeah, I mean, and the reality is you only have to play a certain amount of events to get the points you need for qualifying for the Pro Tour Championship. They only take a certain amount of events, and so Chris will be just fine. And then
I'm assuming he's playing Tennessee State as his next event.
He is, and then the next one after that is the DDO.
Did I sign up for MPO just so I can play Panther Creek and potentially end up on a card with Chris Dickerson?
I honestly thought about it. If we get 20 likes
20 likes on the video
on
an Instagram post?
on the video.
If we get 20 likes on this YouTube video,
Thomas,
I'm already signed up. I will move my registration from MA3 to MPO.
and I will sign up for MPO.
You will sign up for MPO. You're not currently slated to play. You may caddy for me one day. You want to caddy for me on Friday?
I could potentially caddy for you one day, but
There you go.
but if we get 20 likes on this video,
Then you won't be able to caddy for
because
me.
I'll be playing at MPO.
Bro, that would be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, we should make it for an Instagram video. That would just be
No,
That would
I
be so-
can't play MPO. I need a chance to win.
gosh.
I got mad at MA2 after playing one event. We'll make a very clear note. You could technically say that I'm sandbagging. It's just different when you're playing an event of that level. I mean, I guess
There's
I got screwed by ratings by not playing MA3 last time. And even though I hate ratings, just a little piece of me still kind of likes ratings, and I want to bump it up.
Oh, it always feels good to bump up the rating, but
So, well,
Yeah.
we'll make that happen sometime. So, no Macbeth, no Dickerson, probably not Wysocki. We'll see if his Lyme disease flare-ups go away. He's been seeking out, a heavier amount of medical counsel on that. We'll see.
but this tournament kind of feels like the new era of disc golf. The
Yeah.
Calvin Heinberg, the Gannon Burr, the Kyle Klein, those folks are kind of leading the way.
Eagle is pretty much your one person that like
And
is an
Simon.
OG. Yeah.
Simon and Eagle kind of
It
feel
is interesting with Simon because like historically speaking, like I mean, sure, Simon is a big name, especially on like the social media front, but he had not played like insane up until last year.
yeah, won 4 events last year.
Yeah, it's just like this feels like Simon is like a like almost like a new man now.
Yeah, I mean, he got hurt and can't throw Simon lines anymore, so now he plays smart golf and wins. But yeah, so this is some typical West Coast golf. There are certain holes. I was looking at the um, players, the caddy book from last year, and some of the holes do have 2 meter rule in effect.
So it's
And
only if it mentions it at the very front.
I
So
mean,
this
that's what
random one with other trees just doesn't include it,
that's that's what I mean. It's what it looks like to me. So this hole two definitely has a tree in the middle of the fairway.
but does not include it.
Does not include 2 meter rule on the caddy book when it is very clearly on the caddy book for hole one and hole three, and not on hole four, but then again on hole five. So it's kind of like that throughout the whole caddy book.
It's just so inconsistent. Why even have it? I feel like if you're gonna have the 2 meter rule, it should just be in effect for the whole event.
So I'm gonna get on my soapbox for just a second.
Run it.
The 2 meter rule is the most ridiculous rule in disc golf. There is no way for you to prevent going into for there. It's like almost up to chance, if you will, if whether your disc stays in a tree or comes out of a tree. There's no like it is. We talk about punishing bad shots. This is a little bit over the top, in my opinion, to punish a shot where you're just a little off and you happen to stick in a tree. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense to me. It should not be a rule.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think my biggest qualm with it is that there's something in the middle of the fairway that just basically plays as a big bubble of OB. Like
Yeah,
you have to stay in it. Like if you this 3 dimensional OB sits in the air, and if you happen to stay in it and your disc comes to rest,
arbitrarily at 2 meters.
or yeah,
You know, if
you
you're
don't even use meters in the U.S. anymore. We should have to say a certain amount of feet. None of, I mean, I guess we've got the European players playing, but I couldn't tell you.
Terry Miller could tell you.
I could not tell you what 2 meters is. I okay. I understand the general idea of you want to punish people for like going over massive segments of trees, and if you get stuck way up there, you kind of brought it on yourself. I want to punish you so you don't get to go all the way on the ground, but just make that area OB. So that if you land in this area that you don't want people to go over and you throw a bad enough shot to land in it, it is just OB as an area.
But if it's on the ground in that area, it's safe.
Yeah. So you should make the bottom of every single tree OB.
I think it's silly. But all that to say, I do like this event. I do like the OTB Open. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a fun event. It's long, it's wooded, it's got some of these nice roller shots, but it's got a lot of woods too. I think it's a good course. Good disc golfers win there. Simon and Paige took it down last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll go ahead and just go straight into some picks.
Who do you got to win, Trey? Did you say that we're not including Matt in this because we don't have picks from him?
We don't have picks from Matt.
And if he doesn't give us picks, no points, no auto
I
picks.
think we picked some players for him.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No. Hear me out. We're gonna have some fun with it, okay?
Okay, if Tommy Gunn's Trujillo,
He's playing an event soon. I noticed him, but he's not playing this event. But we'll give him some guys. But for me, taking down the OTB Open is none other than the Goose himself, Aaron Gossage.
he did do play good last year.
And this is kind of the time where the Goose wakes up. He starts playing some good golf, starts getting into that form that got him into the playoff with Paul at Worlds last year. He plays good West Coast disc golf. He is familiar with it. Like I said, came in third last year, only 3 strokes off Simon. I just think the Goose is due. he's gonna get that dub that he almost got at Worlds here at OTB this year.
I think that's a good one. I'm gonna go back to back. I'm gonna take the expected pick based on the hands down number one player right now, Calvin Heimberg. He's got the distance. He's got the absolute like fortitude to make it happen.
Oh,
Like
for
this guy
sure.
plays so consistently. I'm gonna run it.
That's why I picked Calvin to place.
I think it's a fair pick. That's a very safe way to earn some points. I'm taking a little bit more of a risk with Calvin Heimberg, but I'm coming in with Simon Lizotte, last year's champion.
a good solid pick as well. It's always safe to pick the guy who won last year as probably somebody who's going to do well next year. Real quick, let's throw some names down for Matt. Let's see what we can come up with here. Got OTB pulled up right here.
He gets Jake Wolf as the winner.
Let's give him Noah Meinsma.
You can do that.
Yeah, Noah Meinsma.
What about Johnny McRae? Can we give him Johnny McRae?
Yeah. That
Johnny
way,
McRae win.
that way, if McRae wins this tournament, I am not going to be mad one bit if Matt gets 5 points from us because that's Johnny McRae winning.
That's fair. Can we give him Cupcake to place?
Oh yeah, I got it. And then I still haven't picked my Forge pick. I was stuck between two guys. All right, I'm rolling with it. I'm gonna take Jakub Simara.
That's literally what I was looking for. Is he playing?
Oh yeah, he's playing. Is he not?
I literally
look up Jakub.
I don't think he's
Oh,
that's literally who I was looking for right now, unless
he's right here. JAK.
am I looking this is last year.
No, it's not.
No, I was on this page, which was last year.
Oh, so yeah.
Literally, that's who is he? Yeah, he is outside. That's literally who I was looking for.
Yeah, give me. Oh, so you're gonna take Jakub as well?
That's literally what I was about to change it to.
Hey, that works. That works.
And then Matt is going to get
Anthon. Give him Josh Anthon.
Is Josh Anthon out?
Yep.
That would make sense.
There it is. He's got the Jays.
We do have the Jays. And then on the FPO side, I'm going to run it up with somebody with a lot of distance, just a little bit of a lack of skill inside the circle. But Evelina Salonen.
Hey, she putted great round 3 at Jonesboro.
She did.
Had the hot round. I think that round pulled her into a top 5 finish. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with Tatar out of... Tatar is not playing this event as well. I did mention that prior. And so with a little bit more of an open field, this could be a spot where Evelina could shine. I think I've got to give it to the most consistent disc golfer on the FPO side that's not named Krista Tatar. I'm going Owen Scoggins to take it down.
There you go.
She hasn't got to win this year. She's got to get one.
She is consistent as heck.
And this is the place where she's going to grab the dub.
Now, who do you got to place?
I'm rolling with Ella Hansen.
She's got an absolute cannon.
The course requires distance. You need it. And Ella's got it. It's similar. It gives me similar vibes to... It's like a little bit like Vegas, but with some woods.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she'll do just fine and definitely grab at least a 3rd place finish.
Definitely. I'm going to go based on recency bias. I think Haley King can come out here just really wanting to take it down. So I think she's going to be all in. I'm going to take Haley King as my placement. And then for my Forge pick,
Let's hear it.
I'm going to take Lucky.
Okay.
As they call her. That's obviously not like exactly how you pronounce her name, but that's what everybody calls her.
Well, there you go. I think that's a solid pick. For mine, this name came as a surprise to me because I'd never heard of her, but I'm going with California native Nicole Bradley.
Ooh, a little local right here. She knows the course super well.
But she's been playing disc golf for a long time. She's no slouch to the game. She's been playing since where'd she go? She's been playing since 2012. She is actually an FP40 player.
Okay.
So the next event that she's going to be playing after OTB is the Professional Masters.
All right.
Where she'll be competing against my winner, on Scoggins.
There you go.
So impressive what they're doing.
Is it Callie McMorrin that's putting on the Pro Masters?
I do believe so. I do believe she's running that now, rather than playing as much.
Yeah.
So
there we go. Well, very nice.
let's give Matt some players. Let's see.
Who do you want? Let's take Juliana Korver as the winner. She played well last year.
She got third last year, so we'll throw that in there. For place, let's give him. Let's see.
Let's give him Kona.
No, is Kona going to play?
We'll see. She's on the list.
And then for the Forge pick, let's give him Carolina Reaper Halstead.
I did see that on there.
Perfect.
Reaper. Now we can get into the good old Jomez getting bought out by the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Yeah, what an event.
I would call that very unexpected. It just was the most random thing on my feed when I saw it.
Yeah, it kind of hit me. It kind of hit me a little different. I was surprised, but I think, and we could talk more about details. You guys probably know a lot of them at this point, but this doesn't really change much except for that Disc Golf Pro Tour owns Jomez. They're going to continue to put out pros produced coverage, and they are making a commitment to using this partnership and transaction as a means of improving both post-produced coverage and live coverage. They're not getting rid of any of the Jomez on YouTube. It's still going to be free on YouTube. But they're going to be collaborating to improve both processes and to create a great a bigger product. So
yeah, I mean it's good. Was it this year that Jomez had re-signed with the Pro Tour for, was it 3 years of lead card coverage? Something in the ballpark of that.
Something along those lines.
It's basically just secures lifetime lead coverage because the Disc Golf Pro Tour will own Jomez. And so, I mean, unless somebody comes in and just offers a stupid amount of money, they will continue to be the lead card post-produce.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I think my biggest takeaway, and you can speak to what is the bigger takeaway for you or things like that, but this is a good sign for disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
Jomez, well-established group, just a very well-established YouTube page, have a great following, have a ton of views. They're a very profitable group. And to say that the Disc Golf Pro Tour could just buy them out is kind of says that, okay, the Disc Golf Pro Tour are doing the right things to grow their brand, to grow the tour,
right,
to a point where they can acquire a big disc golf entity. Maybe like before the Disc Golf Pro Tour was really big, Jomez was kind of the biggest disc golf media outlet that we had.
Right.
And so I just think this is a sign of more great things to come.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I kind of believe is our second buyout of the year that's like newsworthy. You have the Trilogy. Was it Trilogy?
So Latitude, basically the company that owns Latitude.
It was Trilogy and Castaplast got bought out by I can't remember what venture capitalist group.
But it's the guys that own Latitude 16.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah.
And they just basically...
They bought out Dynamic, it's what it was.
Oh, well, I mean, that's, again, part of Trilogy. I mean, that's just...
But they are separate entities.
Right.
Now, that is fully owned by the folks.
I just mean that those three and Castaplast are now, almost the same umbrella. But this is the second, larger acquisition in that sense of the year. This one obviously being way more important than the other. But it does show that the Disc Golf Pro Tour has plenty of money to be spending. And this is a good acquisition. It just makes...
For sure.
The Pro Tour will make lots of money by pouring money into Jomez. There is a lot of ad revenue to be had on YouTube. And so to be acquiring that...
it's a good pickup.
We'll see a lot of really good strides to the Disc Golf Pro Tour in the coming years with that having been done.
Absolutely. So now I'm going to jump straight into some new discs. We've missed a week, and the companies did not let down. So we'll start with Clash. Clash has 4 new discs coming out. And again, I've spoken about this several times on the podcast, but I love the names of Clash discs. I mean, they're clever, they're fun, and they keep a good theme. So, starting out with the Cherry. The Cherry is going to be a new part of Clash's mid-range lineup, based on some statistics and some numbers from the discs. I'm expecting this disc to be between the berry and mango. So mango being very overstable, the berry being fairly straight. We're looking at a stable to overstable disc. That one. The peppermint, which is going to be Cupcake's signature disc.
I just I can't help but laugh when I hear Cupcake.
It's gonna, but hey, that's what he wants.
That is what he wants to be called. I just think it's hilarious.
And so the mint already exists. This is a more overstable mint.
All right.
Is what they're going with there. Then the candy, very generic name.
Everything else is a little bit more specific and not just a deep here.
We just have the candy, and it's going to be a stable putter, pretty similar to the Latitude 64 Faith, which is pretty solid putter. We're going to see that out of the candy. And then the cinnamon was a disc that the Advanced Disc Search, tridiscs.com, has the disc comparison matrix that I use, and it seems like it's going to be similar to the Discraft Surge, but it also, which is a pretty straight to overstable disc, but then it also had very similar characteristics to the Tilt, and which is an extremely overstable disc, and the Monarch, which is an extremely understable disc. So don't really know what this disc is going to do. Could be kind of wild, but it's probably going to be somewhere between a 9 and 11 speed. I can tell you that much. So a lot of neat things coming out for Clash. I know the Peppermint will be coming out soon. Not sure about the other 3, but still a lot of exciting things coming from Clash. And we go from Clash to Mint. I think the 2 companies that are making the biggest splash in the 2023 season, besides Lone Star. I think those are kind of the big 3 that have made the big moves this year.
I would agree.
Mint has also got 4 discs coming out. The Taco is the first one, which pretty big fan of that name. Love a good taco.
Some really good stamps on it if they do it well.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is the perfect timing given that we just passed Cinco de Mayo.
Impeccable timing. They killed that. It's going to be a mid-range, and it had the most similar comparison to it was the Bobcat, which was their disc.
Right.
It looks like it might be a little more overstable than the Bobcat.
All right.
And then they've got an understable putter coming out, the Salamander.
All right.
I like salamanders. We've got a friend who is a salamander expert. And
Just quite literally, he is actually a salamander expert.
Which sounds super random, but shout out to Bryce Wade, killer herpetologist.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be an understable putter, pretty similar to the Swan from Westside. They've got the Lasso coming out, and that's going to be an understable fairway, pretty similar to the Prodigy F5.
I do like the F5. We actually try out the Lasso.
Maybe you should. And then the UFO, which is kind of surprising that there's not a disc already called the UFO, just with,
I would think that would be just a stock disc name.
And it is a very stock disc. When I looked at the numbers, it's a pretty standard putter. There were a ton of putters that were kind of in that same range as the UFO, so probably going to be a go-to putter for them. Quickly, Thought Space Athletics has the Crux coming out, which is going to be an overstable approach disc. Actually, its closest comparison was the Pig.
It makes sense. Does it have like the?
It didn't look like an overmold, or like it had the thumb track,
Right.
but it was very similar to the Pig, which I thought which was fun. And then Castoplast is retooling the Cats. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but I can't imagine it being any other way.
I can't pronounce. There was one the other day that God, I can't remember who particularly pronounced one of them. And it was like way different than I ever anticipated.
I mean, I'll just do the best I can on that one. But the Cactus is a pretty popular disc for some folks, and they were sad to see it go out of production, and then the retool happened, and so I think some Castaplast fans are excited about that. They also have the Voss. We're gonna say Voss.
That's what it looks like.
And
VASS.
it's gonna be an overstable distance driver, very overstable from what I was looking at as comparisons. So those are the new discs. Thomas, real quickly, give me just off the top, what disc out of these 11 are you most excited about?
I would almost have to be most excited. Probably about the Lasso. If it's an understable fairway, that's something that is a nice spot to have in the bag. If it's something like a Sidewinder, a Heat, I mean, maybe something, if it's maybe a little less stable than those two discs, but something that's just barely understable, I could rock with that.
Good deal. Yeah. I think for me, minus the cherry, I've been falling in love with the berry from Clash recently.
Yeah.
So to get the overstable element sounds good. Oh man, I'm riding solo.
Oh, yeah.
Taken over. No, but the cherry is going to be a fantastic disc. I'm sure Clash knocks it out of the park with all their discs. So I will be excited to try that one out. And while Thomas is out, I can preview my new segment. This will happen every week. Foshi's Fun and Games will return maybe next week. At some point it will. But we're at a point in the season where we've gotten to see a good bit of disc golf. There have been 5 Elite Series events, a major, a couple of silver events, and various other events. And it's given us kind of a general standing of where we are as far as the season goes. So rather than Foshi's Fun and Games, Thomas, we're going to do Trey's Triumphs and Tragedies.
I mean, that is just like a big time headline. Like, it's Fun and Games to like the most like, what's that, powerful headline.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm going guns a blazing.
All right.
For this. So
listen, I don't know anything about. I know the general concept, but I don't know the contents of this.
So you did help a little bit with the triumphs. We had some discussions, and we decided it was time for a Forge Sports Media Power Rankings.
Oh yeah, so I did help with me. Trade was back and forth. Yes, on the triumphs particularly.
I'll give you the tragedies.
Let's go back and forth on this one. You start with number 1, since this is your segment in particular, and then we'll just make our way down the line, give a little color commentary as needed.
Sounds good. You know who number 1 is, and we don't need to say anything else about it. Calvin Heiberg is the best player in the world.
Yeah, the easy pick. Number 2. This was a close one.
It was
what with Gannon Burr.
Gannon Burr, and who we picked for 3rd, had very close average finish. Gannon gets the edge with a silver event win.
Alongside the Elite Series win that he had at the Open at Austin.
Correct. He also picked up Texas State's, winning back-to-back events, which is, I mean, it's a great start to the season. It's no Calvin Heiberg, but it is a solid 2nd place. We'll go with Kyle Klein at number 3. Kyle had a slightly better average finish than Gannon, but Gannon had the silver event win that put him over the edge for us in our power rankings.
It's definitely. I was going to say he also had the Blue Ridge Championship when it was Calvin had Texas State's.
Oh,
Gannon had the Blue Ridge.
Good catch. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're good. At number, where is it?
Number 4.
Where did I put it?
You look right here.
Oh, here we go. At number 4, we've got Isaac Robinson. This one might be something that if you're us, this isn't obvious. He should be somewhere up here. I don't think he's on everybody's radar necessarily, but Isaac Robinson can absolutely shred. I mean, taking down the major, he should be on everybody's radar.
He should be in everybody's top 10. Really should be in everybody's top 5. You can make a case for him to be at 5, but for us, he's at 4, and it's based on what he has done recently. His last 3 events, 2 Elite Series and a major.
I mean, he's basically, I mean, in your perspective, he's gone up.
He is trending up.
He started off a little bit slow at Las Vegas with an 82nd finish. He placed 82nd, which technically speaking, just out of his Elite Series events, is an outlier. It just statistically is an outlier based on how he's played. I mean, he's been absolutely shredding it the last few events.
Yeah, but power rankings are supposed to be based on recency, not on history.
Right.
So don't look at Vegas as what Isaac Robinson is. Look at 9th place, 1st place, 2nd place in his last 3 events.
Exactly.
And that tells the story that you need to hear.
So coming in at number 5, this one will be for you.
Oh, yeah. That would be Simon Lizotte, the Music City Open champion.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the edge over some other folks with the victory. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. Winning matters. If you can't win, you shouldn't be above someone who has won. That is the take that we...
You would pretty much have to be like pooping the bed in all of your other events.
And Simon's been competitive in several other events. He's had a couple of rough finishes.
Second at the Open at Austin, his worst is his Las Vegas finish. I've only got the Elite Series in front of me, but number 5 is Simon Lizotte. Number 6, we got Eagle. He just can't seem to take one down, but Eagle is absolutely shredding it. And if all goes the way we think that it will go, he will take one down this season. He just has to put all of the pieces together.
Yeah, we just need him to... He needs to finish the tournament. He needs to complete these rounds and put himself in a position where he is continuing to compete.
We got a 7, Trey.
We got the proctologist himself, James Proctor.
We've got the person that is monitoring your exams in high school, James Proctor.
Hey, he has been the biggest surprise this season for me to see his name come up above some names that we haven't mentioned yet. And for his first full year on tour, some folks aren't surprised to see him at 7 and feel very confident about him being at 7. 8 through 10, there was some debate between us on those 3. There was no debate. James Proctor is the 7th best disc golfer in the world right now.
He's been playing insane. Coming in at number 8, we've got Ezra Aderhold. Now, you might be wondering why exactly. Did you have a...
No, you're right. We talked about it and I didn't correct it.
No, you're good. Yeah. So Ezra Aderhold at number 8. Now, he didn't play in Champions Cup, which is a fault of his own for not signing up and also not qualifying in the Monday qualifier. But past that, he's been playing absolutely insane. His worst finish was his Waco finish in 72nd. 2nd in Vegas, 6th in Austin, 11th in Music City, 13th in Jonesboro. Who knows what he would have done in Champs Cup or at the Champions Cup.
Waco's a huge outlier.
Huge outlier. Again, a statistical outlier.
So we don't want to hold a very statistical outlier against him.
Right.
He's competed well all year long. One bad tournament. It keeps you out of the top 7, but it does not keep you out of 8.
Exactly. Because he got 9, Trey.
9 was a surprise to me. I kind of thought this guy had flown under the radar, hadn't done super great all year, but Matty O.
Dude, he's there. He just doesn't win. He just doesn't win.
He's always around. Bottom of lead card, top of chase card. Just some solid finishes all year. Nothing too spectacular.
The guy has 3 top 10 finishes in an Elite Series events. He didn't play Jonesboro, Austin, and Music City. He trailed a little bit, but that's a great season start.
Absolutely. And he has historically this season outplayed our number 10. Why don't you give the folks our number 10?
We've got Anthony Barella, the absolute cannon himself.
And he's a win away from jumping a few of these guys.
Man, he's got everything he needs to put it together. He just needs to put it together. This is just tying up a few loose ends and actually finishing it.
Absolutely. A couple of notable guys that we discussed that didn't quite make our list. I think Niklas Antila is a couple of events away from being on this list.
Just play the early season.
Adam Pamis is a guy that we didn't really talk about as much, but is worth considering.
Yeah, he's got some decent finishes. I mean, it's not insane, but it's still good.
Chris Dickerson, similar way. He hasn't played as many events. Oh, I guess he has played 5 events now.
He's played 5 Elite Series events, and he's played fine. His best finish was Music City, but that was his only top 10 in the Elite Series events.
So he's done, again, fine.
Right.
And then,
Consistently top 25.
yeah, which is fine, but not good enough for our top 10.
Exactly.
And then, Paul Macbeth.
Just is not playing Paul Macbeth golf. I mean, he's playing consistently. This is another top 25 finisher in all of the Elite Series events that he's playing, but he's not a top 10 golfer. He's had 1 top 10 finish this season.
It's kind of wild to not have Paul in the top 10, but I felt very confident about having these 10 guys ahead of him.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
And so we'll jump into the FPO top 6.
Yeah.
So at number 1, we'll just run through these pretty quickly, but number 1, we got Kristen Tatar.
Obvious.
It's about as obvious as Calvin.
Right.
Number 2, we're going with Ella Hansen.
Got it.
She hasn't won an event yet this year, but she's been competitive in pretty much every other event.
Yeah.
Owen Scoggins at number 3. She is
Very consistent golfer.
one of the most consistent golfers on tour.
Really good putter.
Maybe the best putter in FPO.
Agreed.
And number 4, Katrina Allen. She has competed well. She won Vegas. Kristen Tatar was not there, so that's a little bit tainted, but has had a pretty solid season. Another person with a solid season, number 5, is Holland Handley. Still hasn't picked up the win this year, but I feel pretty confident that at a Kristen Tatar-less event, she could probably be a favorite to take something down.
Yeah.
And then at number 6, the Jonesboro champion herself, Kat Hirsch.
Very good. Very good. I mean, Kat Mersch has a lot going for her. We'll see if she can roll off of that steam from this past win.
Yeah.
What else you got for us on the slate on this one? Tell us about
Some tragedy.
those were the triumphs. Tell us about the tragedies.
Okay, so we had 10 and 6 for the top. I've got 5 and 3 for the bottom.
All right.
So these are the most disappointing MPO player situations, and the top 3 most disappointing FPO players or situations. And number 5, I've got Albert Tan.
I think that's fair. Just has not played very good.
He doesn't have a good event. Like his best finish in elite events is
Austin.
which is kind of we're seeing maybe a fluky event where it's, I mean, first year on tour, the course definitely needs some work. He just hasn't had a great year, and I think there was a lot of hype behind him after the USDGC distance competition came out.
Right.
It's like he effortlessly throwing 700 feet.
Dude, he can absolutely launch.
But
If he just needs to actually play golf.
if you're not accurate, you can't putt.
Yeah.
Gonna let you down.
Yeah.
A guy who had high expectations for this year, I think we both did, and has kind of let us down, Chris Clemens. I mean, the guy has thrown himself around, was okay,
Champions Cup was his best finish at 7th on the Elite Series and above.
but then he's got finishes. So the difference between a guy like Chris Clemens and a guy like Ezra is Ezra has one bad event and the rest is amazing.
And again, there's a difference between a statistical outlier and
What's happening?
yeah, this is not his worst finish is Las Vegas at 69th, and it is not an outlier. It's not even close. You are barely a standard deviation and a half away. We call an outlier 2 standard deviations away from the average.
And so, yeah,
It's not an outlier.
it's got a 69th, a 59th, 27th, 20th, 30th.
It's not Chris Clemens golf.
No,
You anticipate out of that. Yeah, last season, you
got it
figures
all the time.
anywhere between 10th and 15th.
Yeah, and that's that's where I would have had him in the power rankings.
Right.
Not there this year, not even close.
Yeah.
Number 3, we already talked about this guy. It's Paul Macbeth. 1 top 10 finish, is not putting well at all.
Yeah. It's just not a typical Paul Macbeth putting. I mean, you think of Paul Macbeth, you think of Jonesboro a year ago where he has a really long roll away, rolls up to it and just knocks down an insanely long comebacker.
It just doesn't feel like he could do that right now,
No.
which is,
We'll see if he shows up for Worlds.
he will. At number 2, the number 2 and 1 were pretty close for me. But I'm going to give this person the edge in the sense that their season hasn't been as bad because they switched brands.
Okay.
I'm going with Daddy. Emerson.
Gosh, he had one decent event. He played fine.
And that one feels like the outlier.
Yeah.
I mean,
It literally is close to an outlier. Like his average placement out of the Elite Series and the one major is 60th place, and the standard deviation is 30. Like, very close.
That's gross. The Lone Star move has not worked for him at all. Where you've seen guys like Nico and Robert Burridge have some success, Emerson has completely missed out on that.
Yeah, I mean, he DNF'd Music City, so that's pulling it up just a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I mean, he played through almost the entire bit. Yes, he DNF'd during the last round of Music City, but he was still doing.
He was doing awful. He would have finished close to that anyway.
Yes, it does not change the result much.
No.
Horrible season.
But who I would say is having the most disappointing season.
Who do you have? I'm curious.
I mean, he calls himself the dark horse. He hasn't looked like a dark horse in any event in this entire year. Brody Smith.
Bro, he just cannot put it together. Okay, you talked earlier about the 2 people that were demoted from the Elite team to the Ledgestone team with Discraft, and Brody makes his way in there, which I totally agree, primarily because, I was talking about this Elite team thing. Brody being on the Elite team, if this is his performance moving forward, will primarily be a marketing bit. I mean, Brody is good at golf. This is not to take away from the fact that, I think it can be real easy to see somebody finishing the way that Brody's finishing and just say, Brody sucks at golf. It's not the case. Brody is a very good disc golfer. But when you put him up against the top talent right now, don't get me wrong, Brody has mentioned lots of various pain that he's having, whether it's shoulder, back, I can't remember exactly what. Just not having that type of season. It's just pretty tough finishes, and it's only gotten worse as the season's progressed. He started off all right.
Yeah, he started out okay, and if he had continued to go, 30, 28, maybe grab a top 20 in there somewhere, it's like I wouldn't think too much of it.
But it's like Ben Callaway, demoted, and is playing a better season than Brody. Maybe that's Ben Callaway playing with a chip on his shoulder. Same with the...
That feels like DNF from him, I think.
Yeah, that's a DNF at the Music City Open. Andrew Presnell playing
much better than...
Yeah. So
Presnell's having a good year.
Yeah. So all that to say, I agree entirely with Brody as being the biggest tragedy of the MPO year. What are your thoughts on, why exactly did you put him down there?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's like he got promoted. This was a big deal for him. He talks about several different circumstances how big of a deal it is for him to be on the Elite team. It was one of his goals. And it just really feels like he's getting outplayed.
And it sucks, because I like Brody.
Oh, I do too. This is no dig on Brody as a person at all.
Yeah.
I just had high expectations. I thought maybe this could be the year where he picks one up.
Dude, he's got everything he needs to do it. He just has to put it together. It looks like, from what we know of watching him at Music City, is just gets in his head. He starts playing rough and just can't get out of it. And so maybe he'll make his way past that.
Yeah, I sure hope so, man, because it'll be good for disc golf when Brody picks back up and starts playing better. And right now, he has been rather disappointing.
I would agree.
Now, jumping to SPO, number 3 isn't a player. Number 3 is the injury bug.
Got it.
In particular, we've had injuries to and health issues, I'll say, with Kona Montgomery, who has had a couple of good tournaments where she's played okay. Seemed to be maybe even getting back on track from a rough year last year, but thyroid issues have kept her off the course. It's unfortunate, and it's it's sad for disc golf because a good Kona Montgomery is good for disc golf. In addition, Paige Pierce has dealt with an elbow injury, and Valamanda Hano has been hurt all year long. And so it is tough for the FPO scene when three of the top players, Kona hasn't been like a top player in a while, but in 2021 she was. So to see three of the top players missing time due to injuries, I think that's the third, like that is a pretty disappointing.
Kona particularly just because she's such a big social media presence. I mean, she is, I believe, the most followed FPO player. I mean,
I would have to think
she's got over 100,000 followers. I mean, maybe Kristen has
Paige,
one of the two, but just, yeah, she's a fun character to watch.
Yeah, and she's very talented. There have been tournaments where she has absolutely run away, similar to what Kristen has.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's tough for the sport to see those three in particular.
Kona does have it over Kristen and Paige, though Kristen is creeping up on Kona.
Yeah,
Instagram-wise.
That's not surprising to me, but
yeah,
it is tough for the sport because people want to see Kona succeed.
Agreed.
And number two, I already talked about her, but Paige Pierce.
Yeah.
Has just been, disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to. She didn't play at Jonesboro, played injured at Champions Cup, and did not play very well. She does have a win on the season.
She did win the Open at Austin, which is, it's hard to say disappointing a little bit when you've got a win on the season, but given Paige Pierce's past, finishing 16th, 27th, and 29th is a pretty rough showing.
It's similar to the Paul Macbeth.
Yeah.
Being undisappointing. These are the two of the most premier players in the sport, and they are not playing like they are. They're playing like they're good golfers.
Mm-hmm.
Not players that are in the GO conversation. So, but like you said, having the win kind of keeps her out of the number one slot. For me, the number one slot goes to Maria Oliva.
Mm-hmm.
Maria Oliva, she won one of the wraparound events, looked posed for a great season. She won some of the preseason events, performed very well. She won Goat Hill, came in second at Shelley Sharp, second at La Mirada,
fifth at the Memorial, and then just everything past that has been downhill. It quite literally has been on a downtrend throughout the
entirety of it. 12th, 14th, 21st, 34th, 41st.
Yeah, I mean, Jonesboro picked it back up just a little bit, but yeah.
It has been brutal for her. And she had a ton of expectations coming in, changing companies, going with Phosphate Athletics, getting some signature discs, getting that opportunity to make her name. I think she's the only disc golfer sponsored by Kavu. She has a Kavu bag.
Interesting.
Which is kind of, it's fun. And like, these opportunities are great for her, but she is not taking advantage of it at all.
Yeah.
She has opportunity to throw a mixed bag. It doesn't seem like that's really working for her. I think she was somebody who came in with big expectations and has really faltered with those, has kind of crumbled under the pressure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I like the segment. It's a really good way to like it. You know what is not the entire mid-season necessarily. We're leading up into it, but it's a good like quarter season like indicator.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do these periodically. We'll bring back triumphs and tragedies.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys like it, let us know in the comments. But we got to go to the fan favorite, Thomas's top 5.
This one will be a little bit more factual than we've done in the past.
Okay.
This one could kind of fit in a little bit of what a Foshi's Fun and Games is, but it is a top 5.
Okay.
But it's a like statistical top 5.
Do I get to guess?
Well, yeah, we'll allow you to guess as we play into it, and you'll have one guess per. You can guess the answer, and if you don't get it, I'll reveal what the number 5 is in this. This is in California. What is California known for being as a state? Just generally speaking, not disc golf related.
The Hollywood.
Very expensive to live in. Is what
Okay.
I'm going to get at.
See, yeah, I was getting there.
So Thomas's top 5 is going to be the top 5 highest cost of living places in the U.S. All right, we're not going to include Washington, D.C. like that as an entity does not count. It's states specifically.
Oh, it's states.
Correct.
Specific.
Even though obviously
Not state specific.
Right. Okay, so
Understood.
number 5, what do you think the 5th most expensive place in the U.S.? Now, I'm not going to include California. California is in this list, and I'll give you one opportunity to say, I think this is where California would be.
But you took California.
Correct. It's the 5 that are not California.
Okay, so California is in the original top 5, and I'm looking for one essentially number 6.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll with Nevada.
No, we've got Alaska at number 5. All right. What it takes to get items all the way up to Alaska is pretty expensive. So I used to sell appliances for the brand Whirlpool, and I sold to customers. I did inside sales, so I sold remotely to customers in Montana, Idaho, and Alaska was one of my customers. And generally speaking, they have to mark up like appliances, groceries, a lot of things up a whole lot more because it takes a barge ship from Kent, Washington, or like right outside of the Seattle area to get all the way up. Wow. And then I had one customer that it would get on 3 different boats, one barge ship, another boat, and then one ferry to get to an island. It's crazy. The amount of it's just because the amount of transports, like it's getting on a lot of different entities. Yeah, it goes up a lot.
Do they need appliance? Like, do they need fridges there?
It's cold enough already. All right, we've got number 4 on the list.
Number 4 on your list. I don't know why Illinois is calling my name.
It is not. We've got Oregon. We're staying on the West Coast.
West Coast. Okay. Maybe I'm seeing a theme here.
Yeah, just a little bit. So, Oregon, it is just a West Coast side. Portland, not a cheap place to live, but generally speaking, the West Coast just is more expensive. I don't know if it's because like a lot of gas does not, like oil does not come from that particular side of the country. I mean, I know gas in general is more expensive on that way.
And safe.
Housing is more expensive in general due to population, but yeah. So number 3 on the list.
Number 3.
You could interject at any point and say this is where you think California lands. You did not miss it this past time.
Okay. I'm gonna say that you aren't just giving it away to me at this spot. I feel like, because I'm thinking of big cities, right? I'm thinking of like Atlanta, Chicago, Vegas. People don't really live in Vegas. For some reason, Arizona is calling my name.
All right. There's a decent guess. But no, we are going East Coast and we're going Massachusetts.
Oh, a little Boston.
A little Boston action right there.
Okay.
Again, large city, very expensive to live in.
Understood. Yeah.
Move on to the next one.
Okay, this is where Cali falls.
Cali does fall in this exact spot. Cali is number 3 on the list.
So this is the actual number 2.
Correct.
Okay. So gotta go. I feel like I know number 1. So for the number 2, I'm going to go Hawaii.
Wrong. We've got New York.
Oh, no. I don't know what number 1's going to be. That was my surefire number 1.
So New York is number 2. It just is expensive to live in New York. Apartment living is not cheap. Neither is housing. So it's a crazy one. But you got for number 1.
North Dakota.
No, you just said it. Hawaii. Oh, really? Hawaii is number 1. The expense to go on a barge ship all the way to Hawaii. Groceries are crazy expensive. The cost to build a home, incredibly expensive. Yeah, it's out there, wildly expensive. If you want to go to Hawaii, you should have started saving 2 years ago. It is not cheap.
Man, I did so poorly there.
Yeah, so all that to say, it's expensive to live in California. We're more of an East Coast, Beast Coast kind of podcast.
That is exactly right.
So glad you guys could listen to the podcast. I'm glad to be back for our 18th episode after a week break. We've got the OTB Open coming in. Hope you guys watch. We definitely will be. And we'll catch you guys in episode 19.
See you guys.
Peace.